The big beautiful bill is now law. Elon Musk wants a new political party. We have reports of new Democrat calls for violence, and we're going to look at the song of Eric Swalwell. All of that and so much more today on 10 Minute Drill.
Everybody get up, get up.
The story of America is the story of an adventure.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free.
Buckle up for a crazy week in news. First, over the weekend, new dynamics emerging in Ukraine as President Trump is getting more and more frustrated with Russian President Putin's unwillingness to make any considerations towards peace.
I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in the White House this week to talk about a potential peace deal in Gaza. And yesterday, the White House announced they were pushing back the deadline for trade deals to August 1st as President Trump and his team work on new trade deals around the world. All of this follows a newsy weekend in the signing of the One Big Beautiful Bill into law. We have officially made the Trump tax cuts permanent. That's the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
This is about extending that tax relief so the same people that benefited from it back in 2017 and for the last 8 years don't end up having a colossal, massive tax increase hitting them in the face come January 1.
Everything was an absolute disaster under the Biden-Harris radical, woke, progressive Democrat regime. And we took the best effort that we could in one big, beautiful bill to fix as much of it as we could.
As you hear President Trump, Speaker Johnson, and Leader Thune talk about the bill, you'll see a shift in Republicans preparing to go on offense, not only to make a positive case about why this bill is so good for so many Americans, but also why so much of what people have been hearing about it from Democrats in the media is inaccurate. For example, here is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent defending the Medicaid reforms.
And only in D.C. is a 20% hike over 10 years a cut. So Medicaid funding will go up 20% over the next 10 years.
Part of the urgency for Republicans is that Democrats have spent a lot of time and energy demagoguing this bill and spreading misinformation about it. Take a look at this tweet from prominent Democrat activist Morgan Freeman, not the actor Morgan Freeman, but another film producer that a lot of Democrats work closely with. He says, "I hate that over 175 million Americans have to die during Trump's term just so he can do a 4th of July victory lap." Consider the absurdity from Mr. Freeman, again, who a lot of congressionally elected Democrats spend time with and promote, who is saying half the country is going to die because of things like Medicaid work requirements. But moving on, this follows the rhetoric we've heard for several weeks now from Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries.
People will die. Tens of thousands.
Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and others have touted a study that shows that 51,000 people a year could die due to the Medicaid reforms in this bill. However, let us just point out, as of 2024, 711,000 people are on waiting lists for Medicaid higher and community-based services. The average wait time for that has gone up from 36 months to 40 months as Medicaid rolls have ballooned, and half of those are in states that don't screen for eligibility. So there are trade-offs in everything you do. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie are saying 51,000 people are going to die if ineligible couch potatoes have to prove that they're looking for work to get Medicaid. The reality is over 700,000 people right now are waiting to get care, having to compete against both illegal immigrants and able-bodied couch potatoes with no dependents who are choosing not to work. So this is a trade-off case. And as Secretary Bessent said, these Medicaid work requirements are not going to kill thousands of people. This is simply absurd demagoguing from Democrats in the media. Terrible tragedy in Texas.
Tonight, heartbreaking numbers coming out of Central Texas. It's the third day in the frantic search for flood victims.
Within hours of finding out this terrible tragedy had begun, people already began to politicize it. First, with people suggesting that this flooding could be due to climate change.
How much do you think the changing climate is part of what we are seeing go on here?
But as climate experts and meteorologists have pointed out, river floods have actually decreased in frequency across the Texas Hill Country since 1965. The other narrative that's come out from media and prominent liberals is the fact that Trump and DOJ cuts to the National Weather Service caused some of this damage.
When the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see.
We're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls of the National Weather Service's offices in the region.
These cuts to the National Weather Service, to NOAA, to FEMA, I don't know if there's a direct line between the National Weather Service and cuts and what happened.
So as Juliette Kayyem said, she doesn't know if there's a direct line, but she was willing to make the argument because when in doubt, blame President Trump and everything else. But as others, particularly experts local in Texas, have pointed out, this simply wasn't the case. According to the AP, the Weather Service had extra staffers. Here's the VP for Science at Climate Central.
To be clear, the National Weather Service did its job.
Other local experts have also made the case that this had nothing to do with staffing or funding. NOAA's National Weather Service office in Austin and San Antonio issued a flood watch over 12 hours before the flood and a flash flood warning 3 hours in advance. So as this political fight plays out, we want to take a second to shine a light on a hero. This is Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin. His Coast Guard aircrew answered the call of duty without hesitation, saving 165 lives during his first rescue mission. An alarming report in Axios on Monday morning. Dems told to get shot for the anti-Trump resistance. Some of them have suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies, a third House Democrat told Axios. Our own base is telling us that what we're doing is not good enough. There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public, the lawmaker said. A fourth House Democrat said constituents have told them civility isn't working and to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. To that point, just yesterday morning in McAllen, Texas, a shooter in tactical gear ambushed both ICE agents and local police forces.
A man showed up to this facility this morning with tactical gear and a rifle, opening fire on those agents at the front.
When Democrats spend months and months telling people that ICE is a dangerous secret police operating under Nazis and Hitler wearing masks to disappear their families, you can't be surprised when reactions turn out like this. And to that greater point, if you spend all of this time telling people that Trump, Elon Musk, and everyone else is Hitler, again, you can't be surprised when they think they're justified in resorting to violence against them. Are Democrats retreating on climate change? This in USA Today. Want to fix climate change? Stop talking about saving the planet. In the United States, the words climate change are starting to lose their power. Not because the crisis isn't real, it is, but because the language we use to talk about it is too abstract, too politicized, and too divorced from the things most Americans actually care about: jobs, innovation, pride, and purpose. This comes at the same time as Politico reports that Democrats in California are also retreating on climate, a changing political climate as California Democrats recalibrating on climate policies. At the same time, a Monmouth poll earlier this year showed that polling, even among Democrats and younger voters, suggests that urgency about climate change is dropping. Monmouth in April showed a 10% drop in U.S. adults saying climate change is very serious. Notably, the steepest drop was among young adults 18 to 34, where very serious concern fell from 67% in 2021 to 50% this year. There are a number of reasons that polling shows us the urgency about fighting climate change has really dropped even among young voters. For one, people have been told now for 50 years, but especially in the last 5 or 10 years, that the world's going to end, and it hasn't ended. But also, Joe Biden spent the last 4 years spending trillions of dollars fighting climate change, driving up the costs of everyday living for everybody on gas, groceries, home appliances to fight climate change with no impact on the climate. But everyone got more and more irritated with this fight that they didn't sign up or vote for. So again, we can see why the urgency is diminishing. Over the weekend, Elon Musk, with continued frustration about the two-party system, has announced that he's starting a new political party. Independence Day is the perfect time to ask if you want independence from the two-party, some would say uniparty system. Should we create the America Party? Now, his poll showed 65% said yes. And then he tweeted, by a factor of 2 to 1, you want a new political party and you shall have it. When it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Today, the America Party is formed to give you back your freedom. I am someone who's more of a fan of Elon than probably most. I appreciate the conversation he started with Doge. I appreciate what he's done for free speech with X and trying to throw off big tech censorship. However, what Elon is not understanding here is this will only help the political party that has tried to run him out of the country, that's promised to investigate and arrest him, that cheered for his falling stock price, and also gave tacit endorsement and support to the domestic terrorists that tried to blow up his dealerships. So we hope he will have second thoughts about this before giving those people more power by taking away the voice of so many Republican voters who have understandable frustrations with the two-party system, but are not going to find relief by adding a third party to splinter conservatives. As we get into our fan mail segment for today, we want to thank our YouTube subscribers in particular for taking us over 10,000 in just over 100 days. Very exciting. We want to thank some of you. Here are some of your great comments. From Linda Balzer, 1679, love your broadcast. It's informative and includes pertinent news. Keep it simple and truthful. Jerry Kaiser from UP5NN, first-time listener. Nice job staying away from extreme bias. How refreshing. Thank you. Who makes those decisions on who's capable of working? How will the government make those decisions? That has to do with the Medicaid work requirements we've been talking about. The key to this bill and how it works on Medicaid work requirements is it empowers states with the resources to check that eligibility and then enforce it. So states will be the ones in control, and they're incentivized to enforce these eligibility requirements because if they don't, they will get less money from the federal government. And again, those work requirements are not that crazy. You have to spend 20 hours a week looking for work or volunteering or doing the very most basic things to try and find a job. Next one, Jim Egoloff, 8550. Oh, you have proof about the existence of these couch potatoes? Show it. You make comments without proof. You clip statements and don't allow full comments to be played. Thank you, Jim. This came from a study by the American Enterprise Institute, which we've talked about quite extensively on this show, that highlights the fact that Medicaid users with no dependents who are choosing not to work play a higher volume of video games than the normal person who has a job and is paying for their own health insurance or through their employer, any other number of ways. So that is an American Enterprise Institute study that was covered in the New York Post. Feel free to check both of those out. Ars Antique Shop. Why is this bill so great? If you're a senior who does not file taxes, you won't get a dime. Simple as that. So one misconception about a bill is that it should give money to everyone no matter what. If you don't file taxes, you don't get a tax cut. That's pretty normal. But to this person's point, there are a number of perks that are helpful to seniors. First, a better working Medicaid that helps everybody by taking fraud, waste, and abuse out and helping seniors, people with disabilities, anyone relying on Medicaid to get access to it, again, without having to compete against millions of able-bodied young men, illegal immigrants, everything else. Safer communities through the investment in our immigration enforcement. But then also there is a key point here with taxes on Social Security. Trump's bill offers a tax deduction of $6,000 to seniors making up to $75,000 individually or $150,000 on a joint return. So there is something in this bill for everyone. And Republicans are going to spend the next several months finding ways to highlight that to make sure that people are aware of those. But thank you for the thoughtful comment. So speaking of Democrat rhetoric, going too far, pushing things to a limit, here's Eric Swalwell.
Donald Trump is America's Hitler.
When he's not comparing people to Hitler and calling for additional violence, we have a reminder of the fact that the House of Representatives is a summer camp for theater kids. Here is a supercut of Eric Swalwell's latest video strategy.
Hey, Congressman.
What's going on?
Hey, Congressman.
What's up?
Hey, Congressman.
Hey, what's happening? You're everywhere, man.
Yeah. Hey, Congressman.
What's going on?
Hey, Congressman.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Congressman.
What's going on?
Hey, Congressman.
Oh, what's up, man? Train takes.
Hey, Congressman.
Hey, what's happening?
So what he's done here is had a staffer stand outside a door and wait for him. And then he acts natural, either looking at his phone or drinking his drink or just looking ahead, and then boom, staffer, let me answer a question. It reminded me a lot of this from The Office.
Excuse me, Mr. Wallace?
As always, thank you to Content Machine, provider of hot air, Eric Swalwell. We are so thankful that you've joined us. Thank you for subscribing, liking. Please leave us a review. Tell your friends. Thanks again.